Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the fifth of the NEC Backup as a Service training series webinars. Today, we are going to talk about the questionnaire that NEC has provided. Mike Mitch will be doing a deep dive on how to make sure that questionnaire is filled out correctly and give you some tips and tricks on that. As always, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to your Optus account rep. If you're not sure of their email or phone number, there you go. And if you're not sure who to contact, you can always email info@optusinc.com. All right, Mike, take it away.
Thanks, Rebecca, and thanks everyone for joining this. Actually, it's the fourth part. We did have a section 3.1 and 3.2, but we're calling this the fourth part of the Backup as a Service, how to configure and quote webinar. So I'd like to thank again Rebecca for putting this together. In this session, as Rebecca mentioned, we're going to review the tools that NEC provides to help our channel partners successfully configure and quote the Univerge Blue Backup and Recover service. We'll cover the resources available and the different types of agents used for servers and clients to quote backup and recover, and complete a configuration questionnaire used to list the parts on the quotation. We'll deep dive in the configuration form, understanding the mandatory configuration questions and the FAQs that are used to help explain how to secure that information. We'll round out the session by reviewing the process flow and the forms used to quote backup and recover with a real-life example. The primary resources to configure and quote NEC's Univerge Blue Backup and Recover are an assessment questionnaire, an FAQ, and price book. These documents are found in NEC Anytime under Resources, Sales Toolkit. Set the category to Cloud Solutions or Univerge Blue Cloud and select Backup and Recover at this point. The library of resources presented. Rebecca, I lost that flow. Is it possible we can go back one?
Yeah, I can cut that out. Just if you'll back up and start from that slide again, I'll cut it out.
No problem. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Let me just try to get organized just a little bit more. I'll go right to here. So I will start it here. Ready when you are.
You're good. The
primary resources to configure and quote NEC's Univerge Blue Backup and Recover are an assessment questionnaire, a FAQ, and a price book. These documents are found in NEC Anytime under Resources, Sales Toolkit. Set the category to Cloud Solutions or Univerge Blue Cloud Services. Select Backup and Recover. At this point, the library of resources is presented, including the configuration guide and the price book. Select the configuration guide. This will present the assessment questionnaire and FAQs used to present the most frequently asked questions. The assessment form is designed with simple navigation assistance to make entry easy. First, capture the opportunity customer and your channel partner number. This information is important for us to mutually keep track of the opportunity. Identify if there is any form of existing backup solution in place, which will help us and you in navigating the strategy if a competitive solution is in place. And identify a contract start date and the type of quotation, whether it be a new, a change or an extension to an existing, or a change which includes a co-term to the end of the existing contract, as well as the term of the contract, which can be 1 or 3 years. Note that following industry standards, pricing for 3-year contracts is better than for 1-year contracts. Before completing the configuration guide, it's helpful to understand the parts list. The service parts in the Backup Recover parts list are comprised of the number and type of the backup agents in the landscape and the usage. It's important to understand that the client can request the usage to be a fixed amount to avoid having a variable charge each month, or to pay for only what is consumed. In the Backup Recover price book, there are 2 types of part numbers for the different backup source types. The first being the type of the server that is being backed up. There are 3 types of servers, starting initially with the type and number of applications that the customer wishes to back up. Typical applications are Microsoft Exchange, SQL Server, Active Directory, or other applications that have a backup agent. It's important to understand that the application backup allows for the restoration of application-specific information, such as an invoice or an email from last year. The second type of server is a file server. File servers also act in a similar way that they provide backup of specific files, not the entire system image. The next is the virtual machine backup. This is the entire system containing files, applications, and all the system data required to restore a system in the event of a disaster. It's important that the application and file license agents include the VM license at no charge. The last agent is the client agents, used to capture backups of the entire client system, regardless of on-prem or in the cloud. The last part is the amount of the data that the client is storing, which is deduplicated across all servers and clients. These items are what will appear on the quotation and the invoice representing the NEC Backup and Recover Univerge Blue parts. To complete the mandatory parts of the configuration, which are highlighted in yellow, we need to identify the number and estimated storage capacity consumed, not what's allocated, for the applications, file servers, virtual servers, and clients. In this example, we'll step through all, starting with the application servers. In this case, the client has a total of 3 applications comprised of Microsoft Active Directory, Exchange, and SQL Server. These applications have special agents that ensure the application is backed up correctly, which is the reason we need to track them. At the bottom of the configuration guide is a list of applications to discuss with the client to secure the proper inventory levels of the types of applications that have to be specifically backed up. If there's a database such as SQL Server, it's important to ask how much space the database is consuming, since this represents data and is not specific to the application. In this example, the SQL Server is estimated to be consuming 410 gigabytes of space in the database, and a total of 100 gigabytes of space for all the applications. The next step is to determine the number and the type of physical or bare metal servers that are required to be backed up. This can include file servers as well as servers that are not virtualized. What we need to know is how many of these servers there are and the consumed space. Again, not what's provisioned. In this example, the customer has one physical physical bare metal server and 200 gigabytes of space. The final servers, and likely the most typical to be backed up, are the virtual servers. These are servers that have not been accounted for in the application or the physical inventory above. This is because by default, NEC Backup Recover provides a free VM backup agent with the application of the file server, even if they were virtualized. In the case, the client has 3 virtual servers which consume 500 gigabytes of disk space. While this is not mandatory for quoting, it's also good to ask the client what type and version of hypervisor they're using, such as VMware, Microsoft Hyper-V, or Red Hat. Also, if VMware, it's good to understand if there's a support contract in place, and are they using what is called the pass-through or the raw device mapping. This information helps us plan the process of loading the agents and to ensure we capture all data for a smooth installation. The last part of the configuration guide that's mandatory to complete is to determine the number of client systems, whether they be desktops or Office 365 users that need to be backed up. In this example, the customer has 3 mailboxes and 3 shared folders and not using SharePoint. To complete the configuration, there's additional information that, while it's not mandatory, it leads the discussion into cybersecurity and disaster recovery, such as the network and recover services. The number of locations help to scope the complexity of the environment, and if more than one, it poses a sales opportunity to displace one location and simplify the customer's environment with NEC Recover. Internet bandwidth is another good topic of discussion, since bandwidth is consistently increasing, and it allows for the displacement of physical appliances that have been deployed by our competition. What may have been a 1 to 10 megabit per second download speed is now available from providers at 250 megabits or even up to 1 gigabit, which is 100 or 1,000 time increase over what was previously available several years ago. Given that backups typically occur at night, and NEC backup includes compression and deduplication, while the initial upload may take time, it's not as apparent as a restoration from NEC. For a small customer that has 10 systems, 1 terabyte of non-deduplicated data, and a 50 megabit download bandwidth, it would take about 3 hours to restore the entire environment. That's without a physical or a virtual appliance on-prem. If that time is not acceptable, then we can discuss the need for the virtual or physical appliance or increasing their download bandwidth. Disaster recovery is also a good discussion to have with the client, not so much from the standpoint to hard sell them, but from the standpoint of, do they need it? Even if they do not, use the best effort from NEC to let them know that even without a strict RTO, recovery time objective, or RPO, recovery point objective, under contract, NEC can use the best effort to restore their systems remotely. Remember that an RPO of 24 hours means that if under contract, NEC is under commitment to ensure their systems are made available to operate within 1 day or better of the disaster. Also, RPO is up to the client, the customer, given their specific retention policies. If the backups are reduced to less than 1 day, the RPO can be reduced also accordingly, because they're doing the backups on a shorter time period. However, there is a limit to how much you can back up in a certain time period. So there has to be some oversight that's done with a customer and may require a custom service engagement if they have very, very strict and highly replicated time periods that could be possibly in the minutes. The remaining questions help to get the customer thinking about the resources required to restore the environment. Running their environment in a cloud platform requires processing, RAM, and storage, which is a billable monthly charge. Also, typically the storage is the same amount as their backup. However, this should be a discussion regarding their retention and backup strategy. Also, enter any additional questions and comments, such as holding a conference call with a customer, and send to your Optus account manager and NEC BAS sales at necam.com. We'll work collaboratively to get back quickly with any questions and to see if we can schedule a call to present the assessment. The quotation process starts by logging into the Anytime portal, Backup Recovery, in the Sales Toolkit, and download the configuration form and FAQ. Once the form and the FAQ are downloaded, work with a customer to secure the information required to complete the form and send the form to BAS sales at necam.com mailbox. Also, if proposal support is required, proposal templates are available in the portal and available to you. After submitting the configuration form, NECam will work with Optus to reply with a quotation spreadsheet, which includes the channel's price and can be used to mark up at the channel's discretion. The spreadsheet is used to provide the quotation to the end user and to secure the order. Once the order has been secured, the channel partner places the order to Optus using the original quotation spreadsheet. Thank you. If you have any questions, please contact your Optus account manager or NEC directly at bassales@necam.com or bassupport@necam.com. Rebecca, thank you for this session.